Barry Hankerson was married to Gladys Knight. He managed the Winans. Then he met R. Kelly and became his manager. While working for Robert, he started Black Round Records, and he got Aaliyah on that label, Timbaland, Missy Elliott, Tank, and the others. So Barry is known in the music industry as having connections, as knowing his way around the music industry. But he also has a reputation of being a gangster, a thug, a hooligan. They will have you believe that I work for Barry Hankerson. Don Russell made that statement. Choke, no joke, repeated it. Because that's a deflection. It's a way to question anything that I tell you so that you don't listen to the things I say about them. But use your common sense. If I worked for Barry Hankerson, or am working for Barry Hankerson, if I'm with the opposition, if I am truly trying to hurt Robert, if I am truly with the FBI or some other alphabet boys and I have infiltrated to hurt him from the inside, it would show in my behavior. Not one thing I've done has hurt Robert. It has been to help him. If I worked for Barry Hankerson, I would do things that would help Barry Hankerson, that would help the opposition, whoever that is, that would help the FBI, if that's who I'm working for. I was privy to a lot of information that I could have taken to anyone. Don called me immediately when he removed 3 truckloads of R. Kelly's intellectual property from the warehouse. He told me Robert gave him permission. He's going to be managing, moving the music overseas. He said 2 truckloads were in his basement, and he was driving the masters out to California. You can actually see his silhouette at the back of the U-Haul. He told me that the day it happened. Now, if I were working for anyone, I would have called them and told them that. I was talking to June, Bruce, and Don on a daily basis. June had already told me she lived on the top floor of her brownstone that her father left her when he died. Don occupied the first floor, which is where Bruce was because Don was out in California. And then there was the basement. Now you can see the basement windows are flimsy as hell. So this is where Don put 2 truckloads of Rob's intellectual property. You can see the windows. He's got some little insulation on the window to keep the cold out. You know how easy it is to break in that? And a window here over Tasha K's shoulder because they did this interview in his basement. But this is one of the windows in the basement. It would have been nothing, absolutely nothing, to break in. These are the windows down here. Break in and take the intellectual property. I knew where Don was out in California. If I worked for Barry Hankerson, the first person and the only person I would have told is Barry Hankerson. If he's the gangster that people say that he is, it would have been nothing for him to break into that house, duct tape June, her hands in her mouth, and remove everything from the basement. That would have been nothing to do. I was in contact with them every single day. I knew their movements. Don was in California, June was there in Chicago, and Bruce was there. But there were days when Bruce would go out to Carrie's and stay 2 or 3 days every week. I knew that. So I knew when June was in the house by herself. I knew when no one else was in that house but her. I knew her every move because we talked every single day. If I were working for Barry Hankerson, that would have been the easiest heist to pull off because I knew all I had to do was know exactly when Bruce left to go out to Carrie's. I know he's going to be gone 2 or 3 days. I know June's there. And Barry can have some people come in, duct tape her, and remove all of that shit from the house. That would have been easy as hell. While simultaneously having guys go to the Roscoe's in Long Beach and get Don's little ass, put a gun to his head and go get those damn masters. And you do both at the same time. So that would have been nothing to accomplish if I were working for Barry Hankerson. The fact that I didn't do that is proof beyond reasonable doubt that I'm not working for Barry Hankerson. I'm not working for the FBI. I'm not working for the opposition. Because the only person I alerted that the intellectual property was removed from the warehouse was Keith, first and foremost. Then I contacted Rob's lawyers when I saw Keith wasn't getting the stuff back. So I told no one other than Keith and Nicole to tell Robert. Only when Don came out and said the stuff was stolen did I go public. But before that, I only told 2 people, Keith and Nicole. I have never worked for Barry Hankerson. My only connection to Barry Hankerson is we both worked for Robert Kelly at the same time. I am not working for Barry Hankerson. I have never worked for Barry Hankerson. I have always worked for Robert Kelly. My loyalty has always been to Robert Kelly, and my actions throughout the entire time I've known Robert has demonstrated that. Since 1997, I have shown nothing but 100% loyalty to Robert Kelly. And you don't have a shred of evidence to prove otherwise. I behave my loyalty. I behave my consistency. I behave who the fuck I am. So me cursing 20 people out over the past 3 years who claim to be supporters of Robert, who claim to be helping him, who claim to be doing things that are going to get him out of this. And I've shown evidence that they are in fact hurting him. They are in fact working both sides. They are in fact the enemies within. 20 people out of 5,000, 20 people out of 5 million fans, 20 people out of the thousands and thousands and thousands of people that support Robert. I've cursed out 20 because those 20 have come over here to capitalize on this. And their ignorance and their greed is in fact hurting Robert and making it harder to help him. And they don't care. So, yes, I've cursed out people, and I've given you evidence as to why, and every single thing I said has turned out to be true.